time for wild card topics. So we did reaches, steals. How'd this guy go ahead of that guy? And then finally, like, how did this guy not go in the first four rounds? So we each chose sort of a dealer's choice category of our own choosing for our fifth in our list of five. Why don't you start us off?
Yeah, since we're just shitting on small guys, and that's what we've been doing, I'm not going to be touching Deuce Vaughn in a draft. If I'm in a 5-round draft and then he's there in the 5th round, I might take a shot at that point. And the main reason is his size. I mean, I think that goes without saying. He had a 0.05 RAS score for his height, 179, and the biggest two pro comps I've seen is Darren Sproles and Tariq Cohen. Tariq Cohen's not in the league because of an injury. Even then, he didn't rush for a lot of yards. He got some receptions. And I saw this article where Deuce Vaughn had talked to Darren Sproles, and Darren Sproles' one advice was learn to field punts. So I think the only way he's going to stay on a team is if he can return punts, and I think he might be kind of relegated to that and coming in kind of as like every once in a while as a third down back. But I don't see him getting a ton of touches just due to the size. And when he does, it's not going to be anywhere near the line of scrimmage, anywhere near like the D line and stuff, because I just don't know how that size is going to hold up in the NFL. And not even talking about just injuries, but that's a whole nother topic. Someone that size, they very more likely to get hurt than somebody who's 210, even 195.
Vaughn for me again, a guy that I'm pretty much out on. Like his ceiling is Darren Sproles. Like, I mean, he'd have to excel in special teams and be special for his size, in order to do that. There are people though who like him in certain contexts. Sproles hit RB2 numbers, getting drafted as a value in the 4th or 5th round. So I mean, that's like the absolute ceiling for a guy like Deuce Vaughn. And when that's your absolute ceiling, like, really, I don't know that I'll spend even a 4th round pick on you. Who knows, right? But that's kind of when you take swings. All right, so my sort of wild card category is pounding RB late may be a little harder this year. Right. So what do I mean by that? So a lot of folks, their approach to rookie drafts, as I was alluding to before, is late in the draft, right? Don't take, day 3 wide receivers who are like your 5th, 6th, 7th wide receiver on your roster. Take backup running backs. Injuries, right? We live in a 0 RB world now where even the NFL is playing 0 RB. Or as the guys on Dynasty Rewind say, at some point in the season, all of us fantasy managers are playing 0 RB because of, injuries and buys, right? So that's generally like, okay, you take swings on running backs in the 3rd and 4th round. I don't know how easy that's going to be this year because the difference between the quality of the running back class and the quality of the wide receiver class is pretty evident. And if you look, what you see on the screen there is not very different from what I'm seeing in mocks. There's a lot of green in that 2nd round, and there's a lot of blue in that 3rd round, right? So this is, again, before we get our info from the NFL as far as draft capital and landing spot, but you have a lot of running backs clumped together in that 2nd round, and you have the wide receivers after like the top 5 or 6 going in the 3rd round. So if your strategy is like, let's take wide receivers early and pound running back late, I'm not saying don't do that, right? Because there are the Chase Browns and the McBrides there, but there's also like, I don't know, not much left there on the vine after that 2nd round. So you might want to rethink things and prioritize running back in that 2nd round. Yeah, the day 3 wide receivers and whatever aren't fun, but if you're waiting to take running back to the 3rd round, they're just not going to be there, right? And also in the 3rd round in this draft, there's day 2 possible guys like Rice and Tillman. And in this particular case, Mims went in the early 3rd, right? So in the 3rd this year, you're not necessarily getting that guy who's the 5th, 6th, 7th wide receiver on your dynasty roster. And that's not necessarily because the wide receiver class is great and deep. It's because people are taking running back early, right? So maybe flip-flop the way you think about things this year. I don't know, just a thought I'm experimenting with. What do you think?
No, I agree 100%. I
For
do want to
sure.
ask Jamie a question since he's in the chat. Did you pick Zach Kuntz because of his name also ahead of because we talked about you taking him over Laporta, so I just wonder if the name had anything to do with that, like it did Bobo.